We're in a trade negotiation with a brand new administration, and we have a prime minister who keeps on poking his finger in the eye of the current administration and has damaged that relationship. So if there's a failure, it lands at his feet, which is why I'm counting down the days to when he's gone and we can have a reset. It's 47 days to go, and I hope he doesn't continue torching the relationship in the meantime.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be seeing Danielle Smith torch Justin Trudeau. We're going to see Vassy Kapelos calling out Jagmeet Singh while he was on her show. But first off, we're going to be taking a look at Justin Trudeau's response to the announcement from Trump about the tariff situation. He had a press conference today. He decided to take questions afterwards for about 20 minutes or so. And this was one of the questions posed to him.
Prime Minister Ryan Hamilton, Toronto Star. You said earlier that everything is on the table. I assume that includes fully matching the 25% tariffs the Trump administration is proposing. How quickly do you think the Canadian government could ramp that up? And if you do have to take that measure, isn't it Canadian consumers who will feel the brunt of that?
First of all, as I said, everything is on the table, and I support the principle of dollar for dollar matching tariffs. It's something that we are absolutely going to be looking at if that is how they move forward. The bottom line, as you say, is that import tariffs, like the 25% that President Trump is proposing, are actually paid or would be paid by American consumers. And if and when Canada needs to respond with equivalent tariffs on imports from the United States, those would be paid by Canadian consumers. That's why we will look, as we have in the past, at things that have replacements for Canadian consumers that wouldn't be tariffed. The example from last time was Heinz's ketchup being replaced by French's ketchup, because French's was still using Canadian tomatoes in its ketchup. Having Canadian consumers have alternatives to having to spend tariffs on American inputs is part of how we make sure that we don't bear, or Canadians don't bear, undue costs around tariffs. At the same time, there will be costs for Canadians if we move forward on tariffs to the United States, and that's why we will be there to support and compensate Canadians and Canadian businesses depending on the response we have. The principle is that we will be there to support Canadians, and Canadians will be there to support each other during any difficult times of tariffs.
Oh man, I just can't with the Heinz ketchup. He always talks about the Heinz ketchup, and now they're talking about Florida orange juice coming into the picture. It's out of control here. But if you listen to what he's talking about, is that consumers are going to get affected and that they're going to find alternatives when they can. However, he started off the press conference saying that Canada imports way more from the US than China, Japan, and Germany combined. So how many alternatives are you going to be able to find?
As I've stated on numerous occasions, the Canada-US trade relationship is one of the most successful in the world. And Canada buys more goods made by Americans than China, Japan, and Germany combined.
Now, I don't know about you, but to me that sounds like Canada is about to be royally screwed over, because if we're importing more than those three countries put together does, I highly doubt the government's going to be able to find alternatives to subsidize that consumer increase in price that we would be getting if we were to be buying these items now that they're tariffed. And I think this bolsters Danielle Smith's claim from the earlier video on this is why Canada needs to be focused on becoming more of an independent superpower versus relying so much on the US. And as I mentioned, Jagmeet was on Vassy's show, and when she posed to him these sort of questions, just look at her face from his responses, because I don't think she can believe what he's actually saying.
I think Premier Smith's point, though, at some instances has been, and I certainly do understand the criticism that you're levying, but it has been like we're so reliant on sending our stuff to the U.S., including oil, because there has not been any sort of, will at the level of the federal government for building pipelines or other ways to get this product to other markets. I mean, your party and you specifically, Mr. Singh, have opposed the building of pipelines, including TMX, and spent the federal government spending money on that at every step of the way. Do you not, is there not some culpability there in the fact that we are so vulnerable as an export market when it comes to our energy to just the U.S.?
There's no doubt that diversification is important. We need to be able to produce more in our own country. We need to refine more in our own country. The fact that we have got such an incredible wealth of critical minerals, but we're not actually building the batteries in our country. We're not actually refining those products. With our timber as well, we log, but we don't refine or add value to the raw goods that we produce in our country. So that's serious. That's a serious concern that we have. The Liberals and Conservatives have been in power since the beginning of this country, and they've certainly failed on that front to develop a more developed economy, an economy that adds value to the raw resources that we have.
But Mr. Singh, I'm asking you about oil, right? You have been opposed to pipelines that would allow for Canada to export its oil to other places other than the United States. Was that a mistake?
I mean, I don't think that's relevant right now to the question of tariffs being imposed on Canada and in response to us being willing to do whatever is necessary. And I disagree with Danielle Smith, who's prematurely pulling back a potential tool. I think in negotiating, you need to have all your tools ready to go and you escalate them as necessary. We need to respond if there are tariffs with tariffs in kind. We also need to make it clear, I think, to the workers that might be impacted that we will have their back, that we will support them. So that's my focus.
Did you hear that? He doesn't find it relevant, yet they're currently trying to get Alberta to use their oil and gas as a bargaining token or chip in this whole tariff situation. Like, hello? Now, one thing I do agree with him is we do need to do a better job of refining our own resources. Currently, all we do is pull it out of the ground or chop it down and then send it away to get processed so that they can use it in a better way. I do agree we need to do that. But when we take a look at Danielle Smith's press conference today, this is something they kept questioning her on, like, 80% of people think that you're not doing the right thing, or they're thinking this nice guy tactic is kind of over with. What do you think? And she just goes full scorched earth on Justin Trudeau. Take a listen.
Just a question, a supplementary. What do you say to those people this morning, many of whom have been your critics all the way along, that believe that what happened yesterday, that is to say, not the reprieve, but the fact that there is some sort of timeline, February 1st, April 1st, whatever, that see that contend that you failed, that your approach, has failed, and that it's time to load up on the retaliation. Let's get going. Let's get the the engines running, and that basically, the no more Mr. Nice Guy. Now we're going to go for it. We're going to go at it. We're going to get ready. What do you say to that?
If there's a failure, the failure lands at the feet of Justin Trudeau, who damaged the relationship with the incoming president by his antics in the first round of negotiations. The frustration that I have reading Robert Lighthizer book, where he goes through and talks about the ways in which Canada messed around and came late to the table and tried to counter with Mexico and ghosted them, it damaged the relationship. Let's be super clear about why we find ourselves in the situation that we're in today. It lands 100% at the feet of Justin Trudeau, who even just a few weeks ago gave a speech where he thought it was an affront to women that Kamala Harris didn't win. We're in a trade negotiation with a brand new administration, and we have a prime minister who keeps on poking his finger in the eye of the current administration and has damaged that relationship. So if there's a failure, it lands at his feet, which is why I'm counting down the days to when he's gone and we can have a reset. It's 47 days to go, and I hope he doesn't continue torching the relationship in the meantime. All I can do is try to repair and build relationships that should have been repaired and built over the last 4 years. That is what we do by having our office in Washington. We have good relationships with people on both sides of the aisle, because that is what diplomacy is. You have to be able to work with both Democrats and Republicans, and you have to refrain from expressing a preference for who you would like in the White House. And so if there's a failure of leadership, and if there's a damage to the relationship, it's 100% at the feet of Justin Trudeau.
Now, all I gotta say is she's not wrong, because no matter what channel you watch on YouTube, when that happened, everybody reported on it. I even reported on it, because it was so stupid that Trudeau would go out and make that statement at the whatever it was, the women's conference. He was talking about feminism, how he's a proud feminist, and he kept going on and on about how America basically screwed up for the second time having the ability to vote in a female leader, when that is irrelevant when you're going to be dealing with the incoming president of the United States, Donald Trump. To kind of shame them and say, oh, tisk tisk, you didn't get Kamala in when you had a chance to, when you know that Trump is going to be coming in, not the smartest move. So yeah, he shot himself in the foot there. Back in 2019 or 2018, when he made those comments and Trump said he's two-faced, that also soured the relationship. So we need to have new leadership in the role, and that's why we're all waiting for this election to happen sooner rather than later, because we're going to be in this limbo of if the tariffs happen or not. Trump has implemented this sort of task force to see which countries are going to be screwing them over in terms of tariffs, and those reports from their investigation is supposed to come back by April 1st. However, his announcement about February 1st kind of counters that. So who knows? The best thing to do is keep this dialogue, this communication open with Trump. If Danielle Smith has to be the one that's going in there, because Trudeau clearly hasn't been doing it. He's been sending his ministers, and he's been away. He hasn't been communicating with Trump. And when he was questioned about this, his answer was like, yeah, we've been sending the ministers there. You know, they've been dealing with them.
And Prime Minister, just wondering if I could ask you, have you requested a conversation with Donald Trump? Is anything scheduled, or is there any kind of official interaction between your government and the U.S. to figure out what's actually going on tariffs?
We had a number of ministers down there for the inauguration day yesterday, continued to engage with all counterparts. I speak regularly with President Trump, and will continue to, as in regards to next formal interactions. We'll stay tuned.
The question was pretty simple. Have you done anything to engage with Trump? And his answer is, well, we've sent the ministers there, and in terms of a formal meeting, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. How about you become more proactive? I get it, you're already like checked out of your job, but you're still the current prime minister of the country. Do something. This guy is utterly useless. But as always, love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.